Thank you, Michael. Just want to correct a few things, Michael, on my bio. I wasn't advising anybody in Japan. I went there to be the country manager. In my career, I've maybe been lucky associated with the growth of SABIC, so I drove some of the growth, organic growth in Saudi Arabia. Then I went to try to find ways to grow outside the kingdom, and that's resulted in us establishing our global footprint, both in Europe as well as across the globe when we acquired SABIC IB or GE plastic business. After that, I've been doing a number of roles. Of course, key to that was for 8 years growing SABIC business in Europe. We've grown it from 700 million to almost $10 billion job business in Europe itself. Came back to Saudi Arabia to head shared services, and then took over the Office of Corporate Strategy and Planning and also Global Affairs. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I feel privileged to be given the opportunity to speak about the chemical downstream activities and the continued effort of the Saudi government to diversify the economy of Saudi Arabia. As we know, Saudi Arabia has built its international reputation as a leading oil and primary chemicals producer. The wealth created from these two sectors has led to a growing high standard of living and highly educated young people. With rising education standards, there is a rising expectation for highly skilled employment opportunities. The job creation capacity of oil production and primary chemicals remains limited, and we cannot rely on these sectors to provide significant high-quality employment growth on their own. Increased wealth and a growing population implies growing consumer power, the realization of which led to Saudi Arabia embarking upon a sophisticated industrialization strategy to better utilize economic wealth and address the need for more high-quality jobs. Today, I will provide you with an overview of Saudi Arabia's chemical industry and show you how this links to and catalyzes the downstream industrialization opportunities, and then consider an example of how a key downstream cluster of interest to Saudi Arabia and US investors could be developed. The availability of competitive feedstock has been the major driving force. I'm sorry, I missed the slide. Oil production, refining, and petrochemicals contributes almost 40% of the Saudi GDP, and as such is the engine room for the Saudi economy. It is therefore fundamental that the hydrocarbon sector provides the basis for the economic diversification of Saudi Arabia. The availability of competitive feedstock has been the major driving force behind the enormous growth in petrochemical production in Saudi Arabia. The total primary chemical production capacity is expected to reach 107 million tons by 2015, representing around 10% of the global output. Although production capacity addition in the past has focused strongly on primary chemicals, current and future projects will add a range of performance chemicals and materials suitable for conversion or processing to convert it into downstream value chains. This slide shows some of the key investment underway currently in Saudi Arabia. SABIC already has an extensive polymer range in Saudi Arabia. These products are converted in Saudi Arabia for a wide range of applications, mostly in the packaging and construction sector. In recent years, the company has focused its development on performance chemicals and materials and will be bringing an extensive range of these products to market. These products are targeted at a number of key sectors, including hygiene, surfactants, construction, paint and coating, as well as energy sector. The requirement to process these products further into materials, ingredients, and components for a variety of end-use applications, we believe could open up a number of important investment opportunities for U.S. chemical companies and material companies in Saudi Arabia. The National Industrial Strategy has identified 28 clusters that need to be developed in the long term to fully industrialize Saudi Arabia. Of these clusters, 5 have been identified as priorities for the short to medium term development. These are automotive, construction, metals processing, plastic packaging, and consumer appliances. The existing and future chemicals and materials provide an ideal platform to supply the conversion industry. The question can be asked if the existence of these chemicals and materials is sufficient to catalyze downstream investment. In our experience, without a market driver, this is unlikely to happen. As we see it in SABIC, the best way to ensure that downstream investment in key value chain-based cluster occurs is to attract the critical anchor investors who are able to attract and pull the investment along the value chain. For example, converters, molders, extruders, Tier 1, Tier 2, and module or sub-assemblers, as described in this schematic, will be required. The example in this slide demonstrates the readiness of Saudi Arabia chemicals and materials sector to supply the automotive value chain. Many of the plastics processors and converters already exist in Saudi Arabia. The missing parts of the value chain include Tier 1, Tier 2, and OEMs. In order to attract US investors, much needs to be done to encourage investment. This includes addressing market critical mass, investment risk, value chain leadership, and providing a skilled workforce which can deliver the exacting standard required by the automotive sector. It is our view that these obstacles can be overcome with strong leadership along the value chain, aligning between investors and ensuring that the key enablers required by the cluster are in place. Our vision is that the development of downstream clusters could be rapidly accelerated if US OEMs and their related suppliers were to participate in the priority value chain in Saudi Arabia. So why should an American manufacturer invest in Saudi Arabia? There will be undoubtedly a first mover advantage to those companies that can take the bold decisions to invest now. Typically, the government is amenable to assist in the development of necessary infrastructure given a good business case. Finally, Saudi Arabia is a centrally located, stable environment with a well-educated workforce from which an American producer can efficiently address the growing market in the Middle East, South Asia, and in time, Africa. This vision provides the ideal opportunity for win-win cooperation between US business and Saudi Arabia. We look forward to seeing US investors in Saudi Arabia soon. Thank you.